Our adventure began in Louisville, Texas, at a Brony meetup in order to gain a better grasp of members' involvement.
Alright, so you can't shoot without a manual.
You have to discard it.
Yeah, I can only use this if I have. Like, if I had a handful of different things, it'd be like, da-da-da-da-da.
The first question we asked was what it meant for them to be a Brony.
To me, being a Brony is like anyone would say. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what race or gender. You're a fan of the show, My Little Pony, Friendship's Magic. You love it so much, and you think it's a really good show that you want to be a fan of it. So, to me, I think, it doesn't matter how old, young, black, white, yellow, you're a fan of the show. It's awesome. You love it. You like the message it sends. That's it. You're a Brony.
And then we were interested to find out what they liked most about the show.
Mostly the animation. The fact that most of the people working on it used to work on old cartoons like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, all that kind of stuff. And it's just been really nice to see that kind of humor come back in the late 2000s.
I've always been a fan of cartoons that were targeted at the younger demographic, just because they were interesting looking at them as a kid and I think that's cool. But when I actually look back at them, actually a lot of cartoons that I've seen have a lot of kind of underlying value, and it's kind of hard to grasp that at the young age. But looking back on MLP, it's just been like there's so many things you learn out of that show that are like literally life lessons embedded into the show. All fingers are pointing at that lesson, and as a 7-year-old, you wouldn't actually notice it.
People outside the fandom would think, man, that show's girly. It really isn't. It has references from shows from Star Trek to The Walking Dead to Doctor Who. It's, there's a lot of references in there that our generation and the older people's generation will understand too. It's more a family show than just a show, primarily it was initially aimed towards little girls, but it's pretty much a family show. There's like every little bit that they have in there, anybody will understand. There's some for the kids, there's some for the adults to get. They throw in some PG jokes and every now and then. I'm like, this is still My Little Pony, right? But I just love the humor in there. And they teach really good lessons as far as friendship. As corny as that sounds, no. They put it out there. They tell you like, hey, honesty, kindness, laughter, loyalty. It's like, makes sense. And you're like, wow, they're really sending a message here. This is good.
Then we went on to see how they became a part of this culture and what makes them stay.
Funny thing, I actually started this meetup.
Oh, cool.
I was actually one of the first people in Texas to start up these Brony meetups back in 2011.
Brony community is full of very talented people. You got your musicians, you got your artists, you got your animators, you got people who do stuff in society, and when they come into the fandom, their talent or what they do as far as the community opens up. For example, I'm a current U.S. Navy recruit. I'll be shipping out to boot camp around February, so that means I'm pretty much going to be a military Brony now. There are a ton of military Bronies out there who have been in and out the Army, Navy, U.S. Air Force, Coast Guard, etc., SEALs.
One of the big things is creativity is the basis of a lot of Brony work. I guess a lot of things that people create in the fandom, it will revolve around art in so many forms. There's people who draw, there's people who paint, there's people who do digital art, there's people who make you sew and stuff and make plushes and stuff like that. All sorts of things out there, and it goes beyond that. I mean, I used to do laser cutting a lot for a bunch of friends of mine. I basically bring them up to this meetup and just raffle them off and say, hey, take them for free. Just because it's just burning stuff into wood, designs and patterns that come from the show, and just kind of throw them out and say, hey, you'll have some souvenirs.
We later tried to gain insight on some of the difficulties that could come with being a Brony.
I usually try to gauge, what kind of people would be interested or might be interested. I don't go up to random strangers and go, "Hey, do you like Little Pony?" No. If I'm in like a group of nerds and stuff, I'll go, "Hey, have you ever tried watching Friendship is Magic?" And if they don't show interest into it, I don't drop. I just kind of drop it. If they're receptive, I go, "Hey, I want to go and watch it."
Lastly, we set out to see how being a brony has affected their everyday lives.
I actually work for a convention's coming next weekend called Nightmare Nights, so it affects me quite a bit. I always have my friends constantly talking about new episodes, and so it's pretty much an everyday thing for me nowadays.
Kind of became a leader than a follower. I started working on my own projects, kind of got somewhat famous online. And
That's cool. Can you tell me more about that?
sure, I made a tabletop, and it was posted on the front of this big Brony website, and then people came to me, they're like, I'm a fan of your stuff. I'm like, wow, I actually have fans, which was interesting to me. And then they became my friends, which is really cool.
It has changed my life all for the better. Like, I really would rather not think where I'd be without it, because anytime I'm having a rotten day for whatever reason, I can always come back, pull up on one of my favorite episodes, and just smile about it. I have had some rough patches. I mean, everybody has, but it's just to the point where it's for me personally, I use it as a great motivator, because I mean, it's showing me to follow my dream of being a well-known musician on the internet, really.
Well, I have a social life now.
Oh, that's good.
I came from out in East Texas where there was nothing to do and nobody to talk to that I had any conceivable interest with. Now I'm here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I actually have actual friends that aren't people on the internet. So yeah, the social aspect has been a major boon to me, and as I said before, it got me back into doing fandom activity. It got me enthusiastic about something again.
Joshua ended the interview by really summing up to us what the core values were of being a brony.
Friendship is magic. Spread it. Just greet someone when you're walking, and you will make that person's day just by saying hi or complimenting them. Just spreading the love, spreading friendship. Be kind. Be generous sometimes. If someone needs to buy a piece of candy and it costs $1, just be like, I have an extra $1 to give. You can make that person's day.
Throughout this project, we realized that there are many misconceptions about this subculture. It was really interesting to see a group of men who have bonded over their passions and interests in a television show, much like a lot of people do with other shows. Unfortunately, because their show is My Little Pony and is targeted at a young female demographic, these men are often wrongfully judged for their association with the show. Over the past few weeks and through many interviews, we have realized that it is simply a loving community that values friendship and creativity. It is a way for bronies to feel accepted and acknowledged for who they are and what they enjoy doing in life. One large insight that we gained from this project is the idea that the way in which people market certain items and products is the way that they will be viewed by the general public, and it's one way that social norms get created. Like, for instance, My Little Pony. Since it's well known that its target demographic is young girls, people tend to believe that that age group and gender are the only ones who will enjoy the show. However, bronies are clear proof that even though the show isn't marketed towards them, they love it just as much. It's a good lesson to learn that sometimes marketing towards such a small group can hinder your growth and reach. If My Little Pony were to start marketing towards older people, they could potentially gain a much higher awareness, and the brony culture could spread immensely.